from the Major Label Debut Podcast Network. This is your Major Label Debut -MLD News : Record Club, Roman numeral 3, Johnny Blue Skies, and the Dark Clouds, Mutiny After Midnight. That's not really coming into focus on the new webcam I bought from bestbuy.ca. But as you can see, this... Well, you know what? Before I start explaining the record, why don't I introduce, as always, my partner in record clubbing, the other member of the Major Label Debut Record Club. There's 2 members, and then everyone who listens is a member emeritus. And the other member is, of course, Major Label Debut producer John Paul Bullock, and he's here with me now. John Paul, hello.
Hello, Graham. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. There are blue skies here in Toronto, and I feel like I look better on my new webcam than I did on my old webcam, so I'm feeling a little more confident in my physical appearance, and I'm excited to talk with you about the first ever all-physical record we've done on Record Club. Every other one has been in the cloud.
I'm very excited to talk with you about it, too. Also, I'll say I do like your new webcam. It's very interesting. I can tell a difference. And I'm really curious to see what the final result is. Have you been messing with the settings?
No,
like
I received it this morning, and I attached it to my computer 1 minute before I admitted you to this Riverside conversation, and then we started the podcast 2 minutes later. So it's all fresh. Everyone is seeing the first rays of light being interpreted by the sensor of this beautiful pill-shaped device. Which no free ads. I won't say what the brand is, but if anyone at Logitech wants to get in touch, there's a first time for every ad read. Would you please tee up today's record?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you very much to Alexander Ayers and Matthew Burlee for suggesting we cover this record. It was really not on my radar at all, but now I own a beautiful LP copy of it, and have purchased tickets to see Sturgill Simpson, aka Johnny Blue Skies, perform at the Kia Forum here in La Fabulous Forum in Inglewood, Los Angeles, California. This record is a second album under the moniker of Johnny Blue Skies, but it is his 9th studio album. It was released on March 13th, 2026 by Atlantic Outpost / High Top Mountain, which is Sturgill Simpson's indie label / imprint. It has initially only been released in physical formats and sold an estimated 59,000 copies on LP, cassette, and CD. Beautiful CD like Graham has got right there. Its first week. It debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, number 1 on the Americana and folk charts, and number 1 on the rock and alternative charts, which is funny when you think about how it is a combination of many different genres and kind of, as we'll get to, kind of undefinable in what this music really is. But it's a mixture of funk and rock and country and disco and all sorts of stuff. And I'm so excited to talk with you about it, Graham. The top line, what did you feel like? What did you think about it? Did you like it? Do you not like it?
I like everything about it except for the music. I'm sorry or happy to say it comes to my ears and my attention packaged with so much narrative. The fact that it's a physical only release, obviously in this day and age, is notable. The fact that it's a physical only release under a pseudonym that's a sort of stylistic adventure that sold so well and did so great despite seemingly so many obstacles is a great story and is just the sort of thing I want happening in my world of music. Like that's more like it. I think the design of the packaging is all very deliberate and purposeful. The whole thing together looks like it sounds, and it sounds like the lyrics feel, and it sounds great. The band is amazing. The drummer in particular is a killer. Like just really, really perfectly executed version of something that is simply just not my cup of tea in any way, and I have no emotional or intellectual relationship with.
All right. Okay. I could not more. I so hard disagree with you here, which I'm very excited. So, what was your relationship with Sturgill Simpson like before you popped this into the tray of your CD player?
Non-existent. The whole Nashville world is a lamentable blind spot. I'm a New York, LA rock and roll guy, and I know that Nashville is there. And I have friends that go down to Nashville and move and shake in that scene, and certainly have a greater appreciation for it. So already, this album is like a reaction to an idiom that I'm also not familiar with.
I do really, really, really interestingly disagree with you. A, because I think it's well, man, when you say something like this to me, I want to be like, I want to talk to you so much about all the places where this deeply weird album came from, but I'm not sure you want me to talk with you about those places. And I do think that I don't want to older brother you with this, like, with the, I don't want to burden you with the weight of my knowledge, Graham.
My life has been blessed for decades by the weight of your knowledge. So I think maybe you should can you give a capsule Big Brotherism?
No, how about this? How about I'll say, what I'm gonna keep this all positive on my side and say the thing that I liked about this is it is more than anything, more than any of the individual songs, is similar to, I think, the stuff you liked about it, which is it is a brand of contemporary, lefty, sort of lightly political, horny, fun, country in quotes music, which I think, like, people often talk trash about contemporary country music, and it's justifiable because the dominant forms of popular music in America, at least for the last, and I would argue around a lot of the world in the last 45 over the course of my lifetime have been hip hop and country. There's that book about the 90s that what's his name wrote, the guy from who wrote Fargo Rock City, and he's
Chuck Klosterman.
Chuck Klosterman, where he talks about how Garth Brooks was by far and away the most financially successful and culturally important musician of the 1990s, but does not have the same kind of impact or import now, largely because he's not on any of the streaming. So, like, he was so big that he just didn't do that, right? Like, he was like, I'm not going to put my music on any of these things. Why would I do that? It seems like a ripoff.
And one of the only remaining holdouts. I remember when the Beatles music came to streaming, and it was a big deal, and that was more than 10 years ago. And Garth Brooks seems like he really is just never going to do it.
Well, Garth Brooks did the same thing that Sturgill Simpson did, where he created a new persona named Chris Gaines, and then tried to kind of escape the confines of his initially successful artistic identity. And Chris Gaines was not successful, but I think that Sturgill Simpson is like he's landing this properly. It's these two Johnny Blue Skies records are wildly different, and basically what he's told his audience, who I think has been prepped by stuff like Chris Gaines, is like, this is going to be my time to play, and there's a really interesting thing with it. I do think that he has a Tarantino, some kind of statement that he's made where he's only going to make a certain number of albums under his actual name. And so maybe there'll be a bunch more of these projects and personas and bands and stuff, like, but at least right now, the difference between this one and the last one it's just very stark. I mean, this is such a funny and silly and juvenile album that's really based around dance grooves mostly, and songs like the old line about The Cure is like every Robert Smith song is about how much he loves his wife. I do feel like this is also about every song is about how much he loves his wife and wants to like get it on with his wife. Like, and then there's the other sort of light. It's also, it's full of therapy speak and all of this like kind of political stuff that I agree with, that is important, I think, for an American artist who comes from a certain tradition, speaking to a lot of people about what's happening around us in a pretty direct way, where especially that last song is just like, it's a beautiful stew, hodgepodge of stuff here that all hangs together because it was recorded at Easy Eye Sound. That's the place that's owned by Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. It has a kind of general, and I think pretty right now for country, avant-garde. There's anecdotally, I just saw Miranda Lambert had a country disco song come out this week. So I think that he was kind of ahead of the curve in melding country music and dance music in the same way that country and hip hop were sort of commingled for a lot of the last decade. I think that we're going to see a lot more country dance stuff coming after this.
Well, from a commercial standpoint, and obviously Sturgill Simpson is not is accepted from this, but it's been interesting to me to see people from the more top 40 New York, LA world try and get themselves some of that Nashville success. And I think that speaks to the same thing, that this record being so successful in this currently unusual way of not being on streaming, you have to seek it out. I had to go find this record. I had to go to the store and ask where it was and get it. And that's like a big obstacle to listening to music in 2026. And the fact that it still does boffo box office suggests that there's obviously a really healthy market in the country music space, which there always has been. And I don't know if this is literally statistically true, but I've often heard that Nashville makes more money than New York or LA, and more consistently. And it seems like, even Beyonce is interested in getting some of that cheddar, which is impressive.
Well, I think both hip hop fans and country fans do still buy physical product, and not only that, they go to shows, they drink. A lot of people, they party. They're a good time.
We had here in Ontario, there was one of a few attempts in my lifetime to mount a sort of Coachella style multi-day music festival near Toronto. Was called Way Home, and it lasted for 3 or 4 years before they ended it. But they started, I think, in the second year of Way Home on the same stage the next weekend, doing something called Boots and Hearts, which is like Stagecoach, which is a country festival. And that has never been going stronger. And, those are the people that want to go see a bunch of bands in a field and pay $500 or whatever to do it, plus drink, plus buy the concessions, as country fans.
I've never been to Stagecoach, but I deeply regret that. I've been to Coachella a lot, but we should go to Stagecoach sometime.
I would love that.
My friends Claire and George, shout out Claire and George, go every year, and every year they're like, you should come. And we're like, I really want to come. Rachel really wants to come, but it just never ends up being, the timing is always weird for some reason for me. I don't know, in my life rhythm, it never happens. But we should both go to Boots and Hearts. We should both go to Stagecoach. And I say this all the time, but I think there's a lot of this music, especially in the way that I see you as a songwriter. I think that you would find stuff in it that you would like. You have, like you said, you have buddies that go down there and have these really important relationships. And, this is where a lot of pop songwriting lives. And it, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to me that this is a blind spot for you.
Me too. Let me, before we get into the categories, I'll throw my country take at you, which is, needless to say, uneducated, but like all my takes, is no less near to my heart for that. Which is, when I was younger, like many people, when I was in my 20s, it was, it was like the late aughts and the early 10s, a period when poptimism was really going strong. And when I was sort of 24, 25, I was hook, line, and sinker with the Katy Perry record and the Carly Rae Jepsen record, and obviously the Coldplay stuff that was also fainting in that direction. And as I got older, I found and continue to find that style of top 40 pop music, the Olivia Rodrigo, the Sabrina Carpenter stuff, just leaves me a little colder now because it's emotionally, it just seems a little young, lyrically in particular, as it's supposed to. And it was music that really hit me as a 25-year-old right in the heart. And I've always kind of found that, country music is kind of the same kind of brilliantly executed, professionally, created by expert craftspeople music as top 40 pop, except that it's kind of for adults. And the emotional content is much more complex or more layered or just more nuanced in the way that your emotional life inevitably becomes as you get older. And even the most sort of seemingly simple, quote, tears in my beer country music, I find just has an emotional nuance in it that's much more where I'm at as an adult. So I don't know why, other than maybe it just seems like such a big bite to start with. I don't know why I've never found one artist even to let me into it.
Well, I once again will offer to send you some mixes, and not only that, I do think that those both tears and beers are kind of not neither tears nor beers are present really on this record, which I thought was very interesting. It's very much like a record about not drinking or not and kind of replacing all those two things, feeling sorry for yourself and substance abuse, with intimacy and action, which I thought was a very a cool shift and kind of against the grain of a lot of, not that I don't love a good song about self-destruction or a good song about feeling sorry or a good song about escaping a bad situation, or look, if you're willing, I am able. So I will send you a lot of country, and we can do some more country records on this thing. If you want to try something new that's maybe more, we could also do a classic record and talk about it.
We can and will do so many things.
All right. So starting with your favorite lyric, what was your favorite lyric from this record?
I'm so happy to get the lyric book out to read it off the page. That's the thing. I'm having a wonderful experience with this record. I wish that I enjoyed it more because I want to be positive about it. There's nothing about it that feels like evil or bad to me, like some records that I dislike and maybe some records that I like. It's just simply, it doesn't hit. Anyway, one lyric that I did like, which is exemplary of kind of everything you've been talking about, is simply, "But every night I lay down next to you, I start to smolder." I just found that the sentiment of passion for one's own true love is one that I really relate to and vibe with. But not a lot of the lyrics on this record, when you hear someone say something and your heart just goes, yes, I feel that. Very little of this album actually did that to me or spoke to those emotions in a way I found novel or interesting. And whatever it was about like how that line falls in the melody and the cadence and the word smolder too is just that. I loved it. I thought that was like the best expression of the best emotion of my favorite emotion on this record.
I think that's also my favorite emotion of this record too. Like I was saying, the Robert Smith thing, where it's like, this is really just about how much he loves his wife and how much and longevity and ardor over time, I guess.
Ardor, it's like lust compounded by love and familiarity, but that becomes something more as opposed to something less, which is not that commonly expressed a sentiment in music of any kind that I know.
No, not at all. I think there's a lot of uncommon sentiment expressed in this. Right. I mean, from the start, and my favorite line is from the opening track, which is called "Make America Fuck Again," and it has "fuck" is stylized to spell FUK. And he says, "Don't know why everybody's afraid of me. I'm a sensitive boy when push comes to shove. I've got that Hunter Biden energy. I'll make a hooker fuck around and fall in love." And that part of it too, I like. Not only the lefty political thing is, there's a tradition of that in sort of outlaw country, or but the kind of like recognition of male dirtbag energy, and what it says about his. I mean, I used the word therapy speak earlier, but he talks a lot about this in this song specifically, about channeling his neuroatypical identity pieces. He uses words like autism and into like productive artistic output. And it's also a sentiment I don't think I've ever heard expressed, certainly not in a country song, where it's like, I've been working on taking these parts of me and making them not like about efficiency. I think there's so much in like male identity now about like, take these pills or fix this part of your
optimization.
Yeah, looks maxing. We can get it's not that. It's like, I kind of recognize these things that might be flaws, and I want to bugs, and I want to turn them into features, right? And I think that's a noble way to think about getting older, and a noble way to think about like self-knowledge, and the fact that it's wrapped up in this kind of endlessly horny like dude narrative is I think it's like very significant. I can't think of anything else that's similar to it. It's funny. I did think a lot about 90s bands like Green Day when we were doing this, where it was like a lot of it is this sort of recognition of something dark, or maybe that would be seen as shameful. I mean, there's a whole song later in the album where he talks about like being okay with desire and rejecting shame, and being okay with people that are different from him, and that everyone is welcome, and that it has this kind of again, like, these are sentiments that you don't hear expressed very often in pop songwriting or country music or anywhere really,
Yeah, it's very interesting to me, the political or the more political content of the record. You hear those sentiments expressed extra musically via social media or in interviews by, many of our beloved top artists of the day. But to hear them expressed in song is, although ultimately I found it a little didactic for my taste. It's a little literal for my
Preachy.
taste, but it is preachy, but also I think there probably is value in that, and artistic significance in that, even if it's not up my alley. And it's, I'm just allergic to that kind of stuff. But I think that it's probably, well, of course he made it. It's an honest expression of art. It's all good. I don't think he shouldn't have, but also I think it probably by virtue of being Nashville country music, by virtue of being not from the mouth of Julian Casablancas or whoever, it might hit some people who will respond to it and maybe haven't heard those sentiments, aren't on X.com following, whatever slew of leftist Twitter personalities, and are encountering some of this stuff, at least in this context, for the first time.
Yeah, I think that someone who's buying this album and listening to it is probably already in the lefty political spectrum, but I do also think that this does a good job of reinforcing that. And honestly, there's just not a lot of political music anymore, and you would think that there would have been a lot more made recently, but I do think it's because everyone's in these kind of media trenches, and I understand the repulsion from like just open political speech in songs. I think it almost never ages well, and I think that it's an important component of this record for me, but actually the songs where he like rattles off talking points are not as effective to me as as the songs that are more just romantic in nature, which
Hmm.
it coming to our next touchstone or bullet point here is like my favorite song on the record is Don't Let Go, which I feel like is in a lot of ways the most traditional uh contemporary country. It's like a structurally rock solid song about that takes a lot of the elements that we've been talking about his wife and about their love and longevity and commitment and uh, continuing to be attracted to each other over time. And um, I have I think it's one of the best songs I've heard in a long time. This album for me is like top 5 records of the year so far. And I think this is like the shining diamond on this record.
That was one of the contenders for my favorite, as was Venus, which is another one that's sort of in that mode, although a little more up tempo. But the one that stuck with me, despite everything I just said about the didacticism, is that Everyone's Welcome that you were just referencing. Um, just just worked for me. I like the cadence of the lyrics. I like for a preachy song, for a literal minded song, it's kind of a perfect execution of it, and it's sort of catchy and hooky, and it uses the polemic nature of it to its advantage. You know, it has a bit of a like pounding on a lectern vocal delivery that I think really works and has just kind of rattled around in my head the whole time I've been listening to this record. So that's my pick.
That's a good one. All right. Well,
Yeah.
what about favorite moment for you? What's your favorite individual moment?
There was a couple I really liked. I think ultimately it's in Venus. There's like a breakdown where it goes to this sort of like guitar arpeggio that just it's one of the honestly it's one of the only musical moments on the record that sort of made me sit up and pay attention. It surprised me, and I didn't. There wasn't very much surprising musically. I found on this like every song did what it set out to do, and like so well that it often left me cold. The playing is so good that I found it a little. There's nowhere to get my fingers into it. But that breakdown like opened some space up. It surprised me. It beguiled me, and it felt, you know, it's lyricless and yet has all this romance and love inside it, and is like kind of the only instrumental moment on the record that bespeaks the same emotion that the lyrics do, and that is
Well,
why it's my favorite moment. I also really like the drums on "Stay on It." Just good drumming.
very good drumming. It's my favorite moment was also the same thing you're talking about, although not that particular one. I think that like the danceable breakdowns at the end of many of the songs on this record are going to play live so well. They will they will definitely be like extended into kind of jams. I like the one from Situation that has the key change in it where it does the step up. But I do think the truth of it is like that is also kind of significant for me, and that's the disco part of this record. Really, like it's the okay. This is kind of my bet with this whole thing was it came together very quickly that he got, you know, Nashville Killer players together, that it was fun, intense work. I think that's also why the lyrics are probably the way they are, where it feels like it probably was a burst of creativity and understanding. Oh, these two things, country disco, have not been commingled in a while, so I'm just gonna exploit this opportunity while I got the chance and sort of be ahead of the curve with this emerging trend of country and dance music together. So I mean, country is dance music. It sounds the way we talk about these things is sometimes so stupid, but yeah,
Yeah.
like a specific kind of dance music, and I do really think that's again like a difference between this and any of the other stuff that was out there right now, where it's kind of like those. I could see like that the end of situation being 4 extra minutes of just getting out, maybe giving, and also none of those breakdowns are like solo focused. They're groove focused. It's just like stay in the groove, keep it going, keep people locked in, and then deliver them hopefully somewhere else. And I've never seen him live before, but I'm so excited because I really do think a lot of this stuff is going to hit right in a big room. And it does also feel like a guy who, I mean, he was already playing, amphitheaters and arenas, but like as he's graduated to playing places like the Forum, he has, he's been doing it for a while. I'm sure you have to write to those rooms and understand that this is, and it's funny, as much as we were talking about how this record is probably by now sold over 100,000 physical copies, the money is really from playing the Forum. It's not from, like, that's what this thing is an enticement to get people out to buy tickets. And notably, when the tickets for this tour went on sale, he was criticized by some people about pricing, and he basically said, I have a commitment to keeping my pricing low. I'm going to do the only small adjustments I'm making are basically because of either we're not doing multiple nights or we're doing, he's been very like aggressive in terms of his social media interactions with people, where someone took the whole record and put it up online, and he like very pointedly was like, don't do that. This is not what this is about. And then people are like, you're trying to profit from blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I'm not. Here is the prices of all the stuff. Here's the breakdown of what I'm making. Like it was very, I don't know, admirable. I think everything about this is admirable. And it goes to my, like, I do think we're in a time where all these businesses are focused on turning people into creepy versions. And this is a move against that. It's like, get out and get it on and have fun and not be a creep about it too. Like let's take this, a lot of that music from that period of time is from the late 70s to early 80s, not cool about women, not cool about, it doesn't have especially coming from a guy singing these songs, there's nothing creepy about it to me, which is an accomplishment in itself.
There's nothing creepy about it, and I think it's significant as much as I think we agree that the overtly political songs are awfully overtly political.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest politics of all is love, and what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing. And I salute Sturgill Simpson for, but genuinely that kind of
yes,
like just to love and satisfy your spouse or partner, especially as a man, is like if more people should spend more of their time and energy doing that,
considering
just
that,
about anything else, and that is it's not as retweetable as the overtly political stuff, but I think it's probably as, if not more, productive and actionable as like a think globally, act locally situation.
Yeah, I mean it's the ultimate act locally, right? Yeah, no, I'm sorry that you didn't like this as much as me, but I'm again, I want to go on a country music journey with you.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that journey will lead to you liking this record more, because I don't think that maybe is. I think you've expressed your opinion in a way that makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm not sure that it's going to change. But for the next one of these we're going to do, we're going to take a very different look at Nashville, which is with the debut album of a band called Burlee. And the record's called Little Brain, I believe, and it has just come out, or by the time you're listening to this, will have been out on streaming. And there's our friend Michael Eads at YK Records put it out, and it was suggested by Major Label Debuts Josh Hook, who is in the darkness here behind us at all times, hovering above us. He is
only Josh was above us,
puppet mastering us into doing his bidding. So very excited. We'll see if we can shame him into coming onto the podcast to contribute his opinions about Bleary and how much he loves them. And I'm very excited about that too. It's like new. And they're a new band. This is all new. Everything here is new. And I'm very excited about it.
Me too. And it is, speaking of Nashville, if you enjoyed this conversation around Nashville and you haven't heard our episode with Michael Eads of YK Records and other amazing projects, it's really interesting. It's a great listen, and it's a really interesting look at like another part of maybe the most famous music city in the world, but it's music from that city that isn't famous at all, and it's kind of like extra overlooked because of the notoriety of the, country mothership in Nashville. And Michael has a really cool perspective on that, and a really cool perspective on the city by extension. And I really recommend that episode, especially in advance of our Bleary Record Club.
Totally. And also he has a great podcast called YK World, which sort of looks at music and tech through the lens of his taste and his record label, YK Records. He also has a great blog called Uni that is YEWKNEE.com. And he's always posting interesting stuff about art and technology. And dude, the guy is I admire him very much, and I'm very excited to talk about this Bleary record because it rules. And I'm so glad we got the chance today to talk about Sturgill Simpson. And
me too. And despite my cold reaction, I wouldn't have sought out this record otherwise. And I'm really glad that I heard it and thought about it, and that I know it's out there. And if you too are interested in making America and the world fuck again, Johnny Blue Skies and the Dark Clouds, Mutiny After Midnight is available now only where fine CDs, tapes, and vinyl records are sold, and nowhere else. Which, everything about this record is just what I want. It's like growing ups making a record that sounds great, as you said, probably pretty quickly, just as, they had an idea, they wrote the songs, they made it, they put it out physically, and everyone's buying it. I hope that it's the beginning of a beautiful trend. Not that my CD budget is what it once was, but maybe it can be again, and maybe yours can too, dear listener. And we thank you for supporting the physical media arts. And that's this month's Record Club. Mm-hmm. Always a pleasure to do this with you, John Paul. Thank you for your kind attention to the music.
Thank you, Graham. This was awesome. I think we should really keep pushing ourselves and choose some stuff that we would. I mean, we should be covering all sorts of stuff, genres that we're not familiar with, taking adventures on our own into unique and challenging sonic territory.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, major label debut, the news, the Record Club, the podcast is produced, as always, by John Paul Bullock, also our beloved guest today, and Record Club fellow member 001. I'm 002. Josh is 000.
Yeah, he is.
If you want to be member 004, send $10,000 to Los Angeles, California. The show is also produced, of course, by Josh Hook. Josh, we love you. We cherish you.
Hi, Josh.
The Josh Hook Club also has 2 members. Probably his family's in it as well. We'll talk.
A lot of members.
There's a lot of members in the Josh Hook Club, growing every day. And Greg Alsop did our theme music. We love Greg. I was just texting with Greg this morning about a clerical matter, and I was happy to do so. You take what you can get in this world. Thank you for listening. The show is available wherever podcasts are streamed and on all the social media. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let us know if there's any records, new, old, future, any genre that you think we should talk about on Record Club, because we're always looking for suggestions, and we love to listen to records here.
Thank you so much for listening. Please suggest stuff. We'll see you next week with more major label debut, and also next month with more Record Club.
Hell yeah. Live to you, as always, from the intersection of art and commerce. So long.
So long.